What's up, AP Psych? Welcome back. This is our first video for Unit 5, States of Consciousness. In this unit, we're going to be talking about different states of consciousness like sleeping, dreaming, and psychoactive drugs, and we'll get into all of that. But our first topic is going to be focusing on sleep, something that impacts us all quite a bit. So let's go ahead and get started. Our first topic is rhythm of sleep, or something you've all heard of before, hopefully, your circadian rhythm. This occurs on a 24-hour cycle and includes our cycles of sleep and wakefulness. So it's controlled by the hypothalamus, specifically a structure called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, if you can say that 3 times fast. That area of your hypothalamus receives input from our eyes, right? It comes in through the optic nerve and is especially sensitive to light and dark cycles of day and night. So based on the light coming in or lack thereof, it signals our SCN to tell something called the pineal gland in our brain. If light is coming in, the SCN tells the pineal gland to stop releasing melatonin. Melatonin is the chemical that makes us sleepy. And so that's what the pineal gland is responsible for. It regulates our melatonin release. In darkness, the SCN no longer sends messages, which allows the pineal gland to increase levels of melatonin and make us sleepy, so we'll fall asleep, right? So this circadian rhythm is regulated by cycles of light and dark. Under normal circumstances, the pattern undergoes daily readjustment by our exposure to light and by our habitual routines. Okay, you maybe notice this if, let's say, in the summertime, you're like, party, it's summer, I'm staying up till 3 a.m., and you do that a couple days in a row, and then all of a sudden, you're like, oh, shoot, I have to get up early tomorrow, so I'm going to go to sleep at 10 instead. And you find that it's super hard for you to fall asleep at 10 o'clock because you've started to change your circadian rhythm the last few days. So you can change it, but normally it is based off of that light and dark cycle. So if we did away with electronic devices and artificial light, we would start to get tired and fall asleep when the sun went down and rise when the sun came up. But it's that 24-hour cycle of sleep and wakefulness that regulates our bodies. The basic sleep cycle lasts about 90 minutes, and it's made up of 4 stages. One thing to note, recently they've done away with, I shouldn't say done away with, they've combined stages 3 and 4. So when I say 4 stages, now I'm talking about stage 1, 2, 3/4, and REM sleep. Okay. So as we go about our lives, the circadian rhythm, we're awake and alert, and we have these beta brain waves. As we start to get sleepy and drowsy, we have something called alpha brain waves, and then we move into stage 1 of sleep. It's a mixture of alpha and theta brain waves. Your eyes are closed. If you awake at that point, you'd say, oh no, I wasn't sleeping. I was just resting my eyes, right? You always hear that. Maybe your dad said that before. Then you slowly move into stage 2 of sleep, which is a little bit deeper, harder to wake up from, but still considered light sleep. Stage 3 and 4 are your deep stage of sleep. Okay? And then we cycle up to REM sleep, or rapid eye movement sleep. And we're going to talk about each stage individually. But one thing to note, as you go down into your stages, you don't just jump up into REM sleep after the stage 3/4. You work your way back up through stage 2 and then into REM sleep. So that's our basic sleep cycle, lasts about 90 minutes. So you go through several of those a night. To break those down a little bit further, you have light sleep in stage 1, where you're just drifting to sleep. You might experience a fantastic images or auditory hallucinations. So you may have some dreams here, but they're not vivid and story-like as they are in REM sleep. Stage 2, you're more relaxed. You're clearly asleep at this point. We have something called sleep spindles, which are short bursts of brain activity. You may also see that called K complexes. That just describes the short burst of brain activity in stage 2. As we get into deep sleep, that is what used to be called stages 3 and 4, and now they're combined. Brain activity significantly slows down here. Okay? This is our traditional stage of deeper sleep. It's the deepest sleep of all. It's hard to awaken. It only occurs during the first few cycles of the night. Right? So we're getting into deep sleep where you are your mind is resting and your body is recovering. This is the stage where a lot of physical recovery happens and occurs while you're asleep. So here are some of those things that occur at these stages. Like we said, in stage 3, N3 /4, your immune system strengthens, tissue repair and cell growth occur and regeneration. So this is very, very important, especially if you're an athlete and you do a lot of working out. Sleep is the best thing for you because it allows your body to repair in those situations. There's also some memory processing that goes on in stage 3, as well as in REM sleep. So after reaching the deepest sleep stage, 3/4, the sleep cycle starts moving backward towards stage 1. Although still asleep, the brain engages in low amplitude and fast, regular beta waves, much like when you're awake or aroused. So when we get back up, we climb the ladder back up. Instead of going to stage 1, we go to REM sleep. That is rapid eye movement sleep. And our brain activity is actually almost virtually the same as when we're awake, right? That's how active our brains are in REM sleep. These people exhibit rapid eye movement. So if you looked at someone who's in REM sleep, their eyes would be darting all around through their eyelids. And people report vivid dreams. This is our largest period of dreaming at night occurs in REM sleep. And our brain's very active. However, it's called paradoxical sleep because while our brain is super active and we're dreaming, we're having all these vivid experiences, your major muscles in your body are relaxed and paralyzed. So if you've ever woken up and you're like freaking out because you can't move your arms or legs, and you're like, I'm literally paralyzed, I can't move anything, if I think about it, you woke up in the middle of that REM sleep stage when your body was paralyzed. Your body does that to protect you from acting out your dreams. There is a disorder that does not paralyze you during sleep, and people act out these violent things or vivid things that they're experiencing, which can be dangerous. Lastly, during REM sleep, memory consolidation also occurs, making it an important stage for learning. Okay? One thing to note about REM sleep, you get more as the night goes on. So if you skimp on sleep, you are impairing your memory and your memory consolidation and your learning. So here's the cycle again. We show this just to point out that as the night goes on, you get less deep sleep and your REM sleep time increases. Okay. So again, this just points out the fact that most people go through 4 to 6 cycles, 90-minute cycles a night. The longer you sleep, the more REM sleep you get. That means the better your brain will consolidate memories, the better your brain will clear out all the junk from the day and recover and allow you to wake up refreshed the next day. So if you skimp on sleep and you only get 3 or 4 hours, you're missing out on over half of the REM sleep. That means your brain is not recovering. That's why sleep can be so important, and adequate sleep can be so important. So how much sleep do we actually need? Okay. So we spend 1/3 of our lives sleeping. If you think about that, that's pretty crazy. So make sure you get a good bed out there because you're going to spend a lot of time on it. Genetics do influence exactly how much sleep we need. However, most humans sleep 9 to 10 hours if left unhindered. Okay, so if you didn't have an alarm or anything like that, you'd probably sleep 9 to 10 hours regularly. There are some people in the world, it is a very, very, very small percentage, so don't assume that you're a part of it, that can sleep 5 to 6 hours and function normally. Okay, but it's like less than 1% of the entire world population. Okay, so you're most likely not a part of that. Adults need a bit less sleep than teenagers and children because they're no longer developing and their brains aren't changing and growing. So here's a little infographic that provides us with some more detailed information. Newborns through toddlers usually sleep 12 to 17 hours to aid in their growth and development. School-aged children, middle schoolers, elementary kids, 9 to 11 hours. Teens, this is you, 8 to 10 hours of sleep to help your brain growth, development, memory consolidation, and recovery. Ask yourself now, are you getting 8 to 10 hours of sleep? If you're not, your brain is functioning at a lower capacity than it could or should be. Seriously. Okay. Young adults through middle age, early 20s, 30s, 7 to 9 hours. And as you get older, 7 to 8 hours of sleep. Notice, no matter how old you are, 7 is the very bottom requirement. Like I said, there's only less than 1% of the world population who can adequately function on 5 to 6 hours of sleep. Almost everyone in the world needs at least 7 hours to adequately function in daily life and not have cognitive impairment. How much sleep do we need continued here? Our brain keeps track of the amount of sleep we get and does not let us make up for lost sleep. That's called our sleep debt. Okay, you're supposed to get 8 to 10 hours of sleep. That's the amount you get. Let's say you get 6. That means you have a 2 hours of sleep debt that you have recorded. Right? You can't make up for that because you can't make up for this lost time. But also, they say you can't make up for it because most people are chronically sleep deprived and they never get a real chance to actually improve that situation. You need 4 nights of adequate sleep to repay 1 hour of lost sleep. So if you sleep 6 hours in one night and you've lost 2 hours, it's going to take 8 days, 8 nights of adequate sleep to repay that debt that you had for your brain to return to normal functioning. So think about that. Most of you right now sitting there have probably gotten less than 8 hours of sleep. That means your brain is cognitively impaired and is not working as quickly as it could be, right? And you need to actually take the time to protect it and get the sleep that you need. Okay, so repaying your sleep debt, consistent bedtime is huge. Okay? A dark, quiet sleeping environment, avoiding caffeine and heavy meals at nighttime, banish electronic devices from the bedroom. Don't get on your phone in bed. Don't get on your computer in bed. Don't watch Netflix in bed. Make your bed for sleeping. Exercise during the day helps regulate your hormones and your circadian rhythm. So those things, if you're having trouble sleeping, try these. Right, that might help you make up for your sleep debt, get back to a normal rhythm. Now, those of us who can't do those things are struggling with sleep deprivation. And sleep deprivation studies have shown us that sleep is a necessary biological function. If we don't get enough sleep, well, one, you could die, right? Your mortality rate increases significantly if you are significantly sleep deprived. But you can also experience things such as difficulty focusing, diminished productivity, greater tendency to make mistakes. I'm sure you've all experienced these things, those all-nighters you pull when you stay up with your friends all night having fun or you're studying for a test the next day. It's actually hurting you more than it's helping. Irritability and fatigue, we all know that, right? If you don't get enough sleep, you're pretty touchy. Diminished immune system, you're more likely to get sick if you're not getting adequate sleep. And hallucinations, if you stay up for, as mentioned, 72 hours, 3 days, you can start to actually hallucinate and see things because your brain needs sleep that badly. Okay? In addition to all those things, diabetes, excessive anger, heart disease and heart attack rates increased risks of accidents, depression, high blood pressure, obesity. All of these things are correlated and increase with lack of sleep and sleep deprivation. All right, so the National Sleep Foundation found that over 1/2 of all Americans are getting less sleep than they need. Right? Over 50% of the population isn't taking sleep seriously. You think about that, what's the first thing that in America we think is awesome when we're working hard and we say, we'll sleep when we're dead, right? Well, the interesting thing about that is you're actually speeding up your death, and it may come sooner than you think if you're not getting adequate sleep. Okay? So key findings from the Sleep in America poll, a national survey, randomly selected American adults, 37% reported being so sleepy during the day that it interfered with their daily activities. 40% compensated for sleep by sleeping an extra hour or more on the weekends. How many of you sleep in super late on the weekends? If you do, that's a telltale sign of sleep deprivation. 43% use caffeine to help them stay awake during the day. Think about how many of your classmates, or maybe you yourself, you see every day with coffee, walking in the morning, or one of your classmates cracking open that Bang energy drink or that Monster and just crushing it, right? Before class or before an activity. You're sleep deprived. 51% have driven when drowsy during the past year. Whew. Think about that. Crazy statistic. We have tired people out there operating 2-ton vehicles at 50, 60, 70 miles per hour. Super dangerous. 17% have actually fallen asleep at the wheel in the past year. That's a lot of people. And 1% have had a traffic accident due to drowsy or falling asleep at the wheel. So sleep deprivation is a serious concern in the United States that we don't give enough attention to. Are you sleep deprived? Potentially. So, how can we try to help mitigate some of these issues or fix them? Naps. Are they normal? Should we take them? Biologically speaking, we seem to have a major period of sleep at night and a smaller period of sleep in the afternoon, which begins around 12 hours after the middle of the main period of sleep. So what does that mean? Okay. If Kelly slept from 10 p.m. to 8 a.m. last night, 3 a.m. was the midpoint of her sleep. So she would feel that desire 12 hours after that, or 3 p.m. to nap, right? So many of us, 2:30 or 3 o'clock would be that time for a good nap, right? If you ever heard the term 2:30 feeling, that's a real thing. Our bodies are telling us we need to recharge, we need a quick nap to bring us back to normal functioning. A 15 to 30-minute nap is what you want to aim for if you're a napper. Naps improve alertness for up to 6 hours after that. 15 to 30 minutes is perfect because you're in that stage 1, stage 2 light sleep. If you go longer than 30 minutes, it could signal a sleep deficit or that you're sleep deprived. If you're going to go longer than 30 minutes, your best bet is going to 90 because that's one sleep cycle and you'll be able to awake from that much easier than if you took a 60-minute nap and you woke up in stage 3/4 of deep sleep. You're going to be groggy. You're going to be like, what is happening? What's going on, right? So if you're planning to nap, go 15 to 30 minutes or move that beast to 90 minutes, right? Many of us don't have the time for 90 minutes though, which is the issue. But naps are totally biologically normal, depending on the midpoint of your night's sleep. So some theories as to why we sleep and why sleep occurs at the time that it does. There's one theory about sleep being a protector. Sleeping in the darkness when predators are looming kept our ancestors out of harm's way, right? At nighttime, it's dark. Our rods are much less, have much less visual acuity than our cones, right? It's black and white vision. It's hard to see. So why not put yourself in a safe place, sleep, recover from the day, and you can stay away from those predators out in the dark. 2, sleep recuperates. Sleep helps restore and repair our brain and body tissue. We know this is true. Stage 3/4 helps our body recuperate. Our hormone levels help us, recover from activity or workouts, and it also helps our consolidate memory and refresh our brain and clear out all of the chemical known as adenosine that makes us tired. 3, sleep helps remembering. Sleep restores and builds our memory, rebuilds our fading memories, and it also helps consolidate and store new memories. If you're going to study at night before you go to sleep. It's going to help consolidate those memories. Sleep and growth. During sleep, the pituitary gland releases growth hormones. Older people release less of this hormone and sleep less. That's why on that chart, it said young babies need 12 to 17 hours because their pituitary glands are super active, helping those brain and bodies grow. Same thing for young children and even teenagers, right? You're still experiencing these hormone spikes when you sleep that help develop your body. So those are 4 theories of why we sleep and why sleep occurs when it does. Finally, a few sleep disorders to go over. One you've heard of, I'm sure, and the number 1 sleep disorder in America, as it affects 10% of Americans, 1 in 10 people, is insomnia. This is difficulty falling asleep or staying asleep. When poor sleep quality occurs at least 3 nights a week for a month or longer, you can be qualified as insomniac, experience insomnia. Right? There's a good chance some of you listening to this or taking notes experience insomnia. 2, narcolepsy. This is an overpowering urge to fall asleep that may occur while talking or standing up or just interacting in daily life. These people experience sleep attacks that usually last 5 minutes or less, so they're not very long, but these people lapse directly into REM sleep, right? Some of them. So they're out in their chair, they fall over, it's very dangerous, they could fall asleep while driving. Narcolepsy is a specific, very unique sleep disorder, one that has serious consequences if you don't take the proper precautions. Next up, night terrors. Sudden arousal from sleep and intense fear accompanied by psychological reactions. This usually occurs during our first cycle of sleep. The person is still asleep, it mostly happens in children. It seems to be related to some type of fear that children have. It's not the same as a nightmare, a bad dream, right? These children just see images. And if they're not awakened, they're often not going to remember it in the morning. And that's the difference between a nightmare and a night terror. Night terrors, they don't remember. They can be horrifying for parents as kids are screaming and running around and like freaking out, right? But the kid's usually not going to remember it, and they're going to grow out of it as they get older. 4, sleep apnea. It's your failure to breathe when asleep. Some of your relatives, more than likely a male relative, may experience this, or a parent. You stop breathing in your sleep. You could wake up hundreds of times at night to begin breathing again, and you wouldn't even know it because you're waking up to breathe, but you're not becoming conscious enough to realize you're awake. Treatments for this include weight loss. It's usually middle-aged, overweight men who experience this, and a lot of times weight loss will help, or a CPAP machine right here, which you put over your nose, and it forces air into your lungs so you don't have to wake up to get breath. It forces you to breathe. It's oftentimes characterized by heavy snoring. And like I said, those people will feel extremely tired throughout the day and not know why, because they weren't consciously awake, but their body was staying in light sleep, stages 1 and 2, because it had to keep waking up to get that breath. So they're never truly rested until they get treatment. All right, sleepwalking. Number 5, it's a blank stare. You move about in a slow, automatic manner. You may try to eat, dress, or go to the bathroom in the wrong place. Some of you may have experienced this with siblings or friends. It occurs in stage 4, or 3/4, I should say. Its technical name is somnambulism. You might want to write that down. It is totally safe to wake a sleepwalker. It's not going to cause any long-term harm or anything like that you might hear about. But sleepwalking, again, is one of those things that usually occurs in the younger time of life, and you will slowly grow out of it. Okay. REM behavior disorder is our very last one. Rapid eye movement behavior disorder. Muscles, this is when your muscles don't paralyze during REM sleep. Remember, REM is our most vivid dreaming period. We paralyze our muscles so that we don't act those dreams out. Well, with RBD, your body does not paralyze your muscles, and it allows a person to act out their dreams. Usually, vivid, violent, intense dreams are the ones that actually get people up and moving. So it can be super dangerous for any partners that may be sleeping in the same bed as you. It's seen more often in middle-aged and elderly men, but not always. Sometimes linked with Parkinson's disease. But again, this is a dangerous disorder because you're acting out your dreams and you have no control over what you do. Okay. So that wraps up our sleep section of states of consciousness. I hope you enjoyed it, picked up some things. Maybe you'll change some of your habits. We'll talk more about some of these issues in class, go over them, and see some examples as well. Okay. Next up, we'll get into dreams, but we'll see you next time. Have a good one. Thanks.